Yes, greetings, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners from wherever you are tuning in from. This is our weekly Tuesday series on the Digital Online Mastery Show, the show that is aimed at bringing some insights around this industry, around this sector. And this is the show based on the series we had in 2020, wherein we were really getting into grips with what it takes to be involved in the online streaming industry, more specifically here at Cometa Radio Worldwide. And we are proud to mention that we have a number of us that have really self-taught and also, of course, researched what it takes to be in this industry. We strongly believe that somewhere down the line, we will be able to offer even more well structured interventions to help those who want to enter the industry. My name is Sam Zima. I'm going to be hosting the show, anchoring it, and in conversations with me are my colleagues, members, and friends of Cometa, Divesh Mutilal, Busete Matole, and Maynard Maisela. I'm sure the names are familiar now, as these are our residents subject matter experts. We engage on these themes, these topics. Ultimately, we hope to get to a point where the subject matter experts of other content will come and deliver that content on these platforms or these kinds of platforms. This is the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. That's the idea. Greetings, colleagues. Let's give you the opportunity to say hi to the listeners. Tell them a little bit about yourself, those who have not listened to you before. Over to you. Who wants to take it first? Let's give to Mbusete. Mbusete, over to you.
Greetings, colleagues. Greetings to the listeners. My name is Mposetse Matole. Welcome to Cometa Friends and Supporters Club NPO live show as well. We have to highlight. My name is Mposetse Matole. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession, as well as a professional project manager. And above all, I'm a director for Cometa Friends and Supporters Club. I co-hosted a show in this platform for Sunday night sports, arts, and culture show. That's where I've honed some of the skills and the nuggets which we'll be sharing today with Coach Pat Zimmer. And I'm excited today to be in this show, to be able to really share some of our information, knowledge, and nuggets regarding content creation. Thank you.
Welcome, Mbusete. It's always a pleasure to have you here, sharing with us your insights from research and, of course, from the practical experience, having been part of the journey, as you have mentioned. Over to you, Maynard.
Oh, no, thanks, Ndarisa. My name is Maynard Maisela. I'm the director of Maisela Corporate Branding. Good evening, listeners.
Short and sweet. Anything to share with us? How have you been? How was your day?
Oh, no, it was a hectic one, like you always been stuck on traffic and all those things. But nevertheless, it's fine. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm used to traffic anyway. That is our new norm.
The life of an entrepreneur in Gauteng.
Yeah, no, if you're always on the street, that's what you're exposed to all the time, day in, day out.
Yeah, yeah. Ah, beautiful. Sit back, relax, and we'll bring you along. Divesh, over
Definitely.
to you.
Good day, Sam. Good day, Mopotsetsi and Menat, and good day to the listeners. And we are here to serve the moments when people like Menad are sitting in traffic. We're creating content so that we can keep them entertained and help them pass the time as they wait in the traffic. Myself, Divesh Potilal, I'm also an engineer. Uh, I've worked in the government space in many years, as well as in the private space. And I've currently ventured into the space of artificial intelligence. So I'm looking forward to exciting and interesting times as we see the new technologies that society is faced with, Sam. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Welcome, colleagues. Thank you for your introductions. And we're looking forward to the conversations around creating content, exactly the topic. Talking about creating the content, I, I, I think the people who create content are called names, not names negatively, but they have certain titles. I know that lecturers create content, facilitators create content, consultants create content. One gentleman that is a son of the soil, if I may say so, that is known to many of us, is a young man. I think he's from Ekurhuleni, if I'm not mistaken. Tebe Ikalafeng, have you heard of the name?
Yes, yes, he's quite a communicator, leader,
Yeah,
content creator. Yes,
yeah,
about Tammy Gallup.
yeah. I saw his post that he's somewhere in Saudi Arabia engaging with some investors, potential investors, and was highlighting that they're getting ready for a leap. I think there's a leap 2024. One of the, I think it's an investment forum of some sort. But I'm just mentioning his name to say that you almost can associate content creators or associate names of people with content creation. And they are subject matter experts from certain fields. And then, of course, platforms like ours and podcasts are then the avenues or the highways, if you like, on which they will then ride. And you've got to be on that highway to be able to access that content. By so doing, I'm actually introducing the topic of content creation to say that you create it for a purpose. And in many cases, you are informed by the sector or the field in which you are. And we assume that you are addressing the recipients of that content in that sector. Have you ever actually thought of yourself as a content creator from the areas of specialization you come from? Maybe let's start with ourselves. I know Mbuses, you're an engineer, Divesh, you're an engineer, and Maynard, you're a marketer. But let's sit there a little bit and say, what kind of content will you be creating if you were to talk about marketing, Maynard?
Yes, thanks, Narisam. When we create the content in the terms of the marketing, number one, you need to understand and know your audience, which is something very important. So you need to know the content that you're going to furnish to your listeners. What kind of content are you creating? What kind of market? What are you marketing? To whom do you want the products to be heard or to be viewed? So in that way, I think it will take us uh, to create a proper content.
Mm,
You need to understand your listeners or your viewers or your followers, whatever it is.
yeah. In other ways, you need to also know what they are looking for.
Exactly, because whatever they need to consume, just to add value to them.
Mm, mm, yeah. Mbosetse, you are an engineer but come consultant, or you are a consultant in the engineering space. When you think of content from that perspective, what will you be looking at?
Firstly, Sam, I could not hear Maynard from my side.
Yes, I've seen your note, Maynard. If you can just disconnect and then connect again, we'll appreciate that.
But in terms of my side, in the line of work which I'm doing, especially in engineering consulting, there is a area called knowledge management side. It grew a lot to the level of having to ensure that there is creation of infographics, there is e-books which are created, and there is someone who has to be responsible in an organization to ensure that the knowledge is captured, the learnings from project to project or from activities which we are actioning, it's captured and it's packaged for the learnings for upcoming projects or directing the or guiding us in decision making going forward as a company. So content creation is actually important, not only in terms of marketing, but even in terms of engineering, it does play an important role.
As part of knowledge management. So you create the content, you archive it or file it and make it accessible to Maynard, can you just mute yourself, please?
Yes. Yes, you in terms of ensuring that you capture it, you package it, you use it as a learning, either in terms of inducting people or throughout programs within training programs within the organization, especially in terms of engineering and knowledge sharing among your peers as well in the industry, and even to ensure that there's continuous improvement within whatever systems which you are designing as well.
So in the context of these platforms, when we talk about content creation, we will be referring to using the platforms to actually support exactly that content creation in the context of a particular area of specialization.
Exactly, Sam. Because as we are going to be breaking it down, we will highlight some of the steps or some of the areas of expertise which we can come in for content creation, or some of the skills which are required or which you have to develop as a content creator as well, of which research is one of those.
Yes. So the starting point is you being a subject matter expert. You don't just create the content. I mean, if you know how to create the content from a technology platform point of view, and you are not a subject matter expert, so there is a gap there. Unless your topic is how to use the platform to facilitate the process of creation of content.
If I can come in there, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a slightly different perspective with regards to being a subject matter expert in the role of creating content. We could create a content which actually brings in the subject matter experts, and we are providing them that opportunity. Our content actually is showing the expertise of others to the audience. So I just wanted to touch as well on what Maynard had raised and also what Moputsatsi had also touched on. Definition of the audience, I think, is very important. You could have a skill, a level of interest which leads you to generate some kind of content, but if you don't know who your audience is going to be, your content could be something that never gets heard or enjoyed by anybody else. And you might have to adapt your content to suit the audience that you're trying to reach. And what I would also like to share about that audience is, by choosing the audience, it could alter the way you format and present your content. For example, you could have it in the form of an interview, like we do partially on our show and our program. It could be conversational, where we're having discussions between the host, namely yourself, as well as the guests ourselves. We could be storytelling. And of course, like Maputsetsi had illustrated with some examples, it could be educational. And our show, strangely enough, is a combination of those four: the interview, the conversational, the storytelling, and education aspects of generating content. Something as well that you had mentioned, the opportunities of, you know, getting the title of being a content creator. One of the aspects that we would like to raise with the digital online streaming mastery program, which we are taking our listeners through every week, is that there is a future out there. We've raised in several of our previous shows the opportunities in terms of money, but I wanted to just list a few of the more famous content creators that we do get out there. And according to Forbes.com, number one content creator in the world at the moment is called Mr. Beast, which is Jimmy Donaldson, and he's currently the highest paid YouTubers. And some of us might see that he's even got chocolate brands. He's got all kinds of other things which spins off from that. Another one which we have is a gentleman called Jake Paul, which is more in the space of the sports arena. And he again has a YouTube channel, and it's linking into his boxing career. You've got another person called Logan Paul, KSI. So there's a numerous amount of content creators, and these are some of the richest people in the world, Sam.
Mm, mm. So what does it take for one to qualify for that title? Is it the number of followers? Is it the market that you have created, or what is it, according to Forbes.com?
Well, in terms of this one, they look at the amount of wealth that they've amassed. And of course, they link that the generation of the wealth to the number of subscribers. The platforms, we obviously use a different platform to deliver our content. But in terms of YouTube, for example, they would want to see you have hundreds of thousands of followers, and then they pay you because whatever message you're putting out stimulates the listeners to utilize the platform. So they want to get a lot of people onto these platforms, and then they monetize not only the content provision but also the utilization of the platform. So there's a multiple amount of opportunities which, from the content generation side, which we're touching on today, to the delivery of that content, there's opportunities for monetization, sir.
Yes, so just to add on that question of what is a content creator, because according to Indeed.com, this is where the career advice website, they define content creators as professionals who use writing, graphic design, visual storytelling, or a combination of this discipline to make any topic relatable and interesting to the consumer or audience. They say a content creator produces relevant content weekly, monthly, or even daily. So, yes, so they are really breaking it down to that level. You can be a content creator. As you do further reading, you can be a content creator, but not be in the limelight. You can still be in the background because of certain skills which you possess in terms of whether you are researching in certain topic. There's a face of it. which is presenting to whatever audience which you are targeting. So even companies currently, in terms of their marketing, in terms of how they engage, whether it's business to business or to their clients, direct, there is content creators which marketing departments are recruiting
Yeah.
to create content.
And I see LinkedIn has also created, I don't know, you'll call it a category of members, those who are creating content, and then you then have a particular, I don't know, that a color or something on your profile, or settings of some sort that actually give you certain profile status as a content creator. You can set up your profile to that of being a content creator. And I think one of the criteria they use, as you mentioned in Buset, is the frequency, or consistency and frequency of your publishing or of whatever you created through those modalities you mentioned. So let's talk about, now you are requested to come and anchor or host a show, and you want to bring certain content, and you need to structure it. What will you need to do? As Divesh has mentioned, that you don't necessarily be the one who's a subject matter expert. You can actually bring the content creators to come and create the content. Did I hear you well, Divesh?
Yes, Sam, that's correct. Of course, if you're a subject matter expert, that helps. But um, if you decide you want to share your content just as yourself, you could have a one-man show. But what we are really pushing or trying to share with our digital online streaming mastery program is to have more of an information sharing. So we're looking more in terms of the conversational elements of content creation, in that you as a host will decide what area of focus you want to have. For example, when I was doing the program myself, I hosted a show which was looking at leadership in different sectors. And then I would go and find the specific experts in a sector, for example, the energy sector, for example, the ICT sector. And I would bring them onto the show and decide, okay, I wanted to uh, build the content around a conversation which they can share their expertise, their opportunities in their sector, their challenges in their sector to our listeners. So that was my approach in terms of that aspect, Sam.
And that was the focus, was educating the listeners around the leadership styles of the leadership approach in that particular sector.
Yes, indeed. But like I also mentioned, we've been fortunate in our program and listening to all the shows that we've created that we've had a mixture of format in terms of
Yes.
how we deliver, where we've got an interview element, we've got a conversational element, and we've got a storytelling. And of course, at the end of it, which is, I think, one of the brands that you can associate Cometsa with, is that we are educational. We want to share knowledge to the communities and do development to the communities through education. So,
Yes. Let's reflect a bit then. Thanks, Divesh, for sharing with us how you went about it. I think that is exactly one way to do it, and it's very powerful, because you say that I'm going to hold the space and I'm going to get a subject matter expert. And then I prepare the interviews or conversation themes. But the objective is to educate those who will be listening about the leadership approach in that particular sector. And then therefore the content that you are creating is knowledge and also information. So how, Mbuses, when you were hosting the sports show, what would you say was the things you had to take into account to end up having a show that generates a particular content for whatever reasons or whatever purpose?
For us, the purpose of our sport, arts, and culture show, we first we wanted to ensure that we share, we invite expert, or we invite ex-professional or people who are currently active in, whether it's in terms of sports, arts or culture, uh, and they share their experience. First, we wanted them to tell us about their journey to
Yeah.
where, so that people can be able to learn and be able to learn from their journeys. We celebrating them while they are sharing some of the knowledge and sharing what they are currently doing. And even in addition of that, because most of them were still active, meaning they showcase what they are currently doing in the communities, because we wanted them to share the activities which they are doing in their communities, so that they can get support, they can get involvement, they can get businesses to be able to support, and even communities to form part of those kind of programs. So it was a combination of celebrating people or giving them flowers while they're still alive,
Yeah.
as well as appreciating uh, uh, them and celebrating their life and them sharing their experiences as well. And even the challenges, because it was in certain dynamics, they will highlight the challenges which they are facing, which coming up with a solution. What are they currently doing? So it was more conversational, and even within us co-hosts, because we had Coach Pat Siba, who's currently coaching from the development side. Uh, we had expert as well in terms of culture. Our sister,
Ngani.
yes, who was sharing the nuggets in terms of what's happening. We were around the arts and culture as well. So we were sharing our experiences, even as we are engaged, because we are engaged in communities, programs as well. So that was the platform which we created, so that those who wanted to celebrate, those who which we invited, they can come and share those experiences.
Mm. And your guests were not necessarily speakers, so they relied heavily on you doing a proper planning, a briefing, and then holding the space. So you were part creator of that content in a way.
Yes, we certainly, some of our guests were actually, they are not media darlings. We were
Yes.
inviting people who haven't shared some of their stories as well. And when I say media darlings, when you're in certain sports industry or certain kind of sports, you always interviewed, your stories are written, captured, but some you find them never shared some of these stories, which they were sharing in this platform.
So you went for unsung heroes.
Certainly.
Maynard, what angle did you take? I don't know how many shows you did host, or maybe based on also how many the shows you listened to. What will you say is your approach to the process of getting the content out? Then we can then go deeper into what we need to be aware of and what we need to do to be able to facilitate the content creation, which I think is what we are about.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. No, thanks, Ndadisa. Well, we hosted various shows before, and yes, I've listened to various shows as well, like the Mbotsen show with Tsima for the sports as well. I did listen to a lot of that. And myself, I think I co-hosted the one for conferencing and events management profession. it was one of those exciting show, like where for sure you need a lot of planning, you need a lot of research, you need to make sure that you get your proper guest on the show. It involved a lot of planning just to make sure that like we bring all these event planners together and align the positions of the conferencing and events management industry together. So the content creation it is one of those key elements whereby we have to make sure that we put content together. We have to check what is trending in the industry at the moment. We use that as one of our base topic for that particular week. And yes, like a content creation, you need to also look at what is trending in the market so that you can produce and give people the fresh content.
Mm, mm. Yeah. The relevance is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need to be relevant at the time.
Yeah. So let's just delve deeper now in the content of creating the content for the streaming online. So we're talking podcasting, we're talking about videos, we're talking about audio, we're talking about online radio. So now let's look at the can I say mechanization of it, or mechanics of it, if I may say so. Because we are now the people that bring magic to this content, if you like. And I was going through some notes here, and I'm sure I shared that with you. I don't know whether you had time to look at it. It's almost like a guide on all your content creation. Remember now, a very good content can be contaminated by it not being streamed very well. And
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I want to come in there that like when coming to the audio streaming, it's one of those important elements when coming to the content creation, because you need to look at one of your equipments. You need to have a proper mics for you to go on the audio streaming or audio content creation. So your equipment and your space, they play very important role in terms of polluting your content.
Mm, mm. So we are saying, as we are going through this topic, one of the key things is that you matter in the final product as somebody that is hosting this. And as you said, one of the key things to do is to have the right equipment. I want to add there and say you have to, and we've touched on it, you have to plan, whatever that may entail. Let's unpack. What must we take into account in planning for a show that is going to generate certain content, and we will say we have really done well? Divesh?
Well, Sam, indeed, planning is essential. And as much as we say the area where we're going to create the content, the actual show is important. But even before you get to that point, you need to outline what are your episodes are going to be in advance. And even before that, you need to decide what is it that your show is going to be about. Like I'd given an example of mine in terms of the leadership angle. What a person can do who's creating the content, they could start with something like keyword searches, search the internet. Like Maputsetsi had also mentioned, look at what's hot, what's happening right now. But it can't be just a one-hit wonder. You've got to plan episodes. You're going to say you're going to do an episode every week or every 2 weeks or every month. So you need to have something that's sustainable. You can't just have a area of focus that your content will revolve around, which may not last past 2 episodes. So one of the things you could do is look at the internet, start identifying relevant topics that also resonate with the target audience that you must also identify. So you may have a skill, you may have a message or an idea which you want to share, but you need to identify who's that audience that you want to share this message with. And then research your topic and see whether this is going to work with the target audience that you're outlining. you got to understand as well what people are searching for and what questions they may have in terms of this content that you're going to provide. And then you decide, like I also mentioned earlier, what is the format of the messaging? We say we're going to go online streaming, or even podcasting for that matter. We still need to decide when we're creating our content, whether it's going to be conversational, you're going to bring in a guest, it's just going to be yourself talking, or you're going to have some level of educational content which you're going to share to your audience. So you've got to create how that uh, content gets packaged after you've done your research, and then develop some kind of a strategy. How are you going to then take all of this and then package it and then share it with your listeners, Sam?
Mm, mm.
Just to add, Sam, on what Divesh is highlighting, I would like to break it down a little bit as well in terms of the delivery, specifically in terms of the team. Whenever you,
Yes.
from the planning now, organizing the show, for us, our having to organize how the participants, and even in terms of probably doing a dry run. There are certain instances from the show which we had to do dry runs. In terms of IT support, you have to have that IT support, not only the hardware, but from IT perspective, know that whatever you're delivering, that particular stream on which platform, you know what you are quite knowledgeable, or you have someone who's assisting you in terms of ensuring that you are using that platform correctly. The other ones which I just want to highlight beyond that is in terms of your marketing, your show, the likes of it's important that you look at the overall life cycle of the show. It's not only the presentation part, because you will have the goal in terms of what message you want to convey. You will do the planning, the organization, you deliver, but as well, there's preparation which goes into marketing that particular show prior to that, or ensuring that it's in platforms where you can be able to engage your targeted audience. Thanks.
Mm. I hear you touching on two key tools here, or templates. One template is planning of the show, and the other template, which you both spoke to, is actually the script that's going to guide you how you go about delivering the show. Am I right in saying that that's what you implied in terms of planning?
Yes, in terms of planning,
Yes.
from the questions which need to be answered, the questions, if it means you have to prepare in terms of sharing, there's pre-preparation which you can do with an expert in terms of some of the questions which we know there are certain shows which you prepare that you can share the questions. These are the areas which I would like to engage our audience on. Then you share with, if you're inviting someone, or from your side, your research, particularly from the introduction part to the body, what you would like to convey to, in terms of the conclusion, to say what message will you like at the end to convey. Either you would like to be direct certain, or leave your audience with certain thoughts, or prepare them for the next show, and so on, or build up on that. So it's about planning the entire show, how you want to deliver that the entire show, or the message or purpose for that particular show, for that particular day. But even in the bigger scale, how does it play part in the entire stream platform which you have created?
Mm. And you're talking from experience, obviously, and as professionals now already in this space. But how hard was it to understand this at the very beginning, so that we can encourage those who are about to start to know that it's a journey. But how hard is it? It's very much at the beginning. Is it something that one has to craft very carefully until it becomes a habit? How will you encourage those who are to start, how they acquire these processes that you just shared with us?
If I can come in some.
Yes.
Yes, Sam. It's daunting. And yes, you get individuals who find it less daunting than others and catch on to it more quickly. That being said, your digital online mastery program, which Kometsa is embarking on offering to audiences, helps you navigate that path and helps you get some of the tools that helps you manage not only the content creation process, but also as a person to develop yourself, to grow, how to relax your mind, and to be in touch with yourself as well as your your partners in terms of the content creation, whether they're your guests, whether they're your co-hosts. There are tools that we utilize to assist in that content creation process on a larger scale than just focused on the content creation itself. Uh, that's very important, Sam. That you grow from one strength to another. It's a journey that you actually go on, and it's not just for one show to get to the next show. There's a lot of planning that goes into place. I know with my experience that I had, we'd probably, once a show is almost finished, we're already starting the planning for the next show.
Yeah.
Or we'd have 2 or 3 shows partially planned in advance because a guest might let you down. So you'd need to jump from your show 2 that was planned to show 3, for example. And even within the show, you could script. I used to always script and have everything planned out in terms of what kinds of responses we would want to be expecting and how we would follow up to that response to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting. But often you'd get a curveball, or you'd find that a response hit a nerve, which your audience might really appreciate. So you take a journey away from what was planned in your script, and you take the conversation in a little bit different dimension because it's just right at that point in time. So, like Maputsetse had said as well, it also depends on the now. And when you find, okay, this specific point that was raised in your content needs to be developed further, needs to be probed a little bit deeper, then you take that journey in that space. So it's a very dynamic type of process.
Mm, mm.
Just to add as well, it just reminds me one of the on the do's and don'ts and some of the nuggets which, as we go through these programs, our audience will be able to learn some of those. Just ensuring, especially when you're interviewing people, having them to settle. You know, sometimes we take for granted to say if either you present, someone might be their first time,
Yeah.
either hearing themselves on radio worldwide or online or listening, or someone or family members or colleagues listening to them. So we having to have them to settle and be able to make them comfortable that they can be able to share their knowledge and be able to guide the conversation, uh, uh, interrupt, or I will say interject respectively, so to direct the conversation as well. It's important. Those nuggets you learn as you go through this program, which will be unfolding from next week.
Mm.
some of the things which I've learned in terms of preparation is the show does not only the amount of planning as Divesh highlighted, it goes weeks and weeks before sometimes. So, and you with that, in terms of coordination, it's not only in the delivery part, but it should be organized and ensure that you are constantly in touch with people which you are inviting um, about the show, and ensure that they are comfortable, remove all their fears or minimize all their fears, and let them enjoy presenting their expertise or their knowledge, or sharing whatever knowledge they have.
It's very interesting that exactly the points you are raising is what actually this particular show we are on now, is actually taking into consideration. You have had to research, you have had to think about, we're going to talk about content creation. What must we be preparing? So it's basically doing exactly that we are advising people on to do. Isn't that interesting?
It is. It's as you highlighted. For me, I think it's like riding a bicycle. Though the technology moves faster, you may find it's a driverless kind of infant. So, but you learn as you hone the skills as you go on, and from the first show you listen to yourself as well. From your first show till the 10th, so you'll see, you'll just hear the improvement
Yeah.
as you engage this literature, and you prepare, and it becomes like something which you just have to do it. It's not, it comes second to nature as you're
Yeah.
presenting more and more of these shows.
So we understood the content we wanted to create and the audience, chose the right equipment, we created the planning, and we have the scripts. And then we are in the studio, we are recording, we are streaming, and at the same time we are recording. And then comes the post, and this is now for the producers, and because the content creator in many times is a producer of the show. Then you have the editing, and then of course, Maynard, from a marketing point of view, I guess there's an enhancement of that content, especially if you are preparing it for podcast episodes to be distributed, published and distributed. That is another aspect which maybe might not be obvious out there.
No, that's for sure. Like after we created this whole content, followed all the aspects the other colleagues has mentioned, we are now leading into the podcast planning or creation again, which is where now you will need to make sure that you understand what you are publishing and how do you publish that particular content. Like when you produce that content, it needs to have a certain description on how you're going to produce it. Maybe just to attract your followers as a part of marketing, rather than just to dish out the content. And for somebody who's new into your blog or wherever you'll be posting, doesn't understand the content of whatever you are going to produce. So you need to describe it. You have maybe certain key words of what you were discussing in your content. So just make sure that when you post it or when you publish it, you just write the key words kind of as a description for people to have an interest in your content.
Mm. Mm. So we produce the content and then we take care of it post the production. Because with technology platforms now, the content has a long, we call it lifelong shelf life or long shelf life.
Yeah.
So basically, we are saying, as a producer of content, you have to be interested in that content living long, using the technology platforms for distribution that are there now in today's this environment.
And one thing I would like to add as well to that point, Sam, is once you've published and you've tried to promote, obviously the promotion starts even before the publishing, because you'd want, if it's a live show, you'd want to get as many listeners as possible to the live stream. And then post that show, you want to promote that listeners go to the podcast, if need be. But part of that process, and very important as well, which then leads you to the further content creation, is you got to monitor how did that content perform. Look at the metrics like number of views, how much engagements you had, what was the conversions in terms of people downloading your content to listen, if there's any comments that came back, so you can improve the content that comes after that. So that's a very long sort of life. But as this one episode's content is brought to life and then slowly led out to almost retired, even though it's going to be living lifelong in the internet. I say retired because you're already starting on the new content creation process. But each one should lead on to the next, because you learn from, you would make mistakes as well.
Yeah.
But what you did right is something you want to replicate again in your new content creation that you're busy embarking on. And of course, what the audience is enjoying is things that you want to be able to measure and then replicate in your new content, Sam.
Yeah.
Yes, and just to add on what we have to do as well, it's a question which we have to ask ourselves: how many of us were able to go and listen to the full show because of mere 2 minutes or 60-second clip as a segment which was advertised as part of which was part of the content which is shared on that show. So that's how you sell it. In terms of, there are certain platforms which obviously you cannot be able to upload the whole show for them to listen. You can share the link, but how creating those segments, those aha moments, they can be able to create or take some of traffic back to the platforms which they can be able to listen to the full show.
Indeed. Yeah, sure. Beautiful stuff. As I'm looking at time, we're close to reaching the top of the hour. I think just as a reminder that content creation is the whole thing. That's the core. But the content can be enhanced and enriched by mastering all these other processes that you have to engage in pre and post the show. I think that's what we are saying. Unless you are just called into the studio to give the content and you go away, and then the host and the radio station or the platform owner then does their work. But if you really are a content creator and you really want to do more with that content than just giving out information, then you're going to have to master all this. As Mbuses was saying, there's a whole value chain of content creation. It's a big topic. And again, you don't create the same content every day. And as Maynard has said, every content you create could be labeled differently because it will be addressing different issues. So can one do this as a part-time? I guess so, but in many cases, those content creators that you shared with us, Kadesh, I'm sure they're doing it for life, right?
Yes, Sam. It's gone to a point where, well, those are the superstars, if you can put it that way, in terms of online content creation. To a point where the big uh, companies like Twitter, like Microsoft, could actually go to these content creators and ask their opinion in terms of future products. which they are going out on. I mean, they can even decide that they wanted to sell bubblegum. And because of the followers that enjoy the content they produce, they become what we deem as social media influencers. So the content that you grow today might actually lead to a personality which actually can make, worldly impacts and changes in the world, Sam. So it's not necessarily only about career. It could be, very good quality of a leader could grow out of this content, Sam.
Beautiful. Yeah, this is a very interesting topic. Mbuset?
Yes, and I just want to add in terms of currently how you look at in the space of either Twitter or Facebook, the ads which we see from either the likes of food chains, I can mention one, the likes of Chicken Licken, you find it's irrelevant. It's like something happens today, within a day or two, it's part of their advert.
Yes.
Get to show that from monitoring what's happening in terms of the trends or what are people engaging and creatively using that to advertise what you're offering or what as a business you're trying to sell or your product or service. It shows that now there is people who are engaged with content in terms of they're monitoring each and every traffic. Where are people looking at this moment? And instantly you have to move fast, meaning you have to have creatives, which is content creation as well. Creatives behind quickly, how can we align this to our product or service which we are offering? And how can we ensure that we present it quickly in the market? So it's that part which this has brought.
Beautiful. Wow. Colleagues, thank you so much. We ran out of time. We have to leave it here. But let me invite the listeners to join us next week, Tuesday evening, same time, when we will be studying the series, the conduct, starting with Conduct 1, which is a self-introduction. That will be Unit 6, Conduct 1, self-introduction. This is good that you start with ourselves, the host. Let people know who's the person that is hosting the show. I'm looking forward to that because we are going to be more practical then. And we're going to share with you how we did it and how we think you should do it. And I think it's a challenging one because as a host of the show, you are also an identity of the show. 1 second each. I know it's asking for too much, but 1 second. Last wait. Was it?
For me, I just want the audience to really engage and form part of this journey. It's something when you get out of the other side, you will be able to really treasure. This is a valuable tools which you can apply, whether it's audio or video, a platform, or please engage us as Kometsa. We have platforms which we can still be able to present, to get proper coaching, and we usher you through the whole process. And all the best for.
Thank you. You said it for all of us, Bosete. Thank you so much for helping that. But we're looking forward to next week, colleagues. We ran out of time. One word, Divesh, we're going to be cut now. In fact, let's leave it there. We have just no time. That's how much we overindulge in this topic. That was Comesa Radio Worldwide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please join us next Tuesday as we continue this journey. I'm really looking forward to that kickoff with Conduct 1, self-introduction. That will be followed by introduction of the host, the guest, the station, checking in, affirmations and motivations, a whole suite. And we're going to do this up to the end of the year. So you can't afford to miss not even a single Tuesday or a single episode. Colleagues, stay in the studio as I disconnect with the listeners. Goodbye to them.